The slipstreaming at the Glen allowed passes galore, but Mid-Ohio will be a different story. Twisty, narrow, and mostly slow, this place will put a premium on track position. Who will prevail in the Buckeye State? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 11 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legend Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Roush Racing driver Joey Atterbury. Behind the scenes is our director, Daniel Costello, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. In spite of having sports cars in its name, this track has seen lots of open-wheel action. Let's take a closer look at it with our track guide. Welcome to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Located halfway between Columbus and Cleveland, Ohio, this track has become a road racing staple in the Midwest. The full 2.25 mile version is what is most frequently used, but it also includes a chicane layout and a short course. While each one officially has 13 turns, they do have distinct differences. The chicane layout was the only version for the first part of its history, in which the keyhole included a bus stop style back and forth jink on its entry. The short course simply bypasses the whole keyhole section altogether. The various turns have some rather famous names, such as China Beach with its downhill braking, inviting you into its eponymous sand trap, or Madness, which is a single file set of S's with drastic elevation change. There's also the carousel, and this more than 180-degree turn offers a variety of lines that can be taken. Perhaps the most unique feature of the track is that in the real world, starts are rarely taken on the pit straight. Instead, the green flag is given along the backstretch where an extra flag stand sits. Naturally, sports car racing is the main staple of the venue, but motorcycles have a long history here, and in more recent times, NASCAR has started to hold races at the track. It also hosts driving schools and days for amateur racers to get on the circuit. The Buckeye State is often more closely associated with dirt track ovals, but the amount of history and prestige in Mid-Ohio's events make it just as worthy of notoriety in the region. Well, I'm biased because this is my home state, but I love this track, Joey, and it sounds like you're a fan too.
I absolutely love Mid-Ohio sports car course too. Mid-Ohio, whatever you want to call it. As you can see here, just a very technical racetrack. 13 turns, 2.25 miles in length. Used to hold the old SCCA runoffs for quite some time, albeit in a little bit of a different configuration. But turn one here, not really the best passing opportunity. It's actually a very tricky turn. It's very fast, and it's just kind of a sweeping left-hander. You'll see a lot of drivers actually running four wheels out on the exit there, so you got to be careful. It leads to turn number two, the keyhole. A pretty straightforward hairpin on the map here, but trust me, it has a slight downhill crest, and it is never banked inward, so you have to fight the racetrack the whole time. And it is important to get that corner exit, which leads you down to the longest straightaway here on Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. If you remember that old BMW flipping of Joey Hand, that happened right there at turn three. But turn number four, China Beach, your best passing opportunity because it's your highest top speed and your biggest brake zone. But turn five, they're known as Madness. It is a very fast, I shouldn't say very fast, it comes up very fast on you, but it's a technical left-hander, and then pretty much the rest of the track, turns 6, 7, 8, 9 into Thunder Valley, all the way through the carousel and out onto the start-finish straightaway. A completely different back half of the racetrack. Very, very technical here in Ohio.
It's going to slow these cars down, which rely on that straight line speed. So we'll see them struggle to try and make passes, no doubt, through there. And passes could be important today because the championship, while not as tight as we've seen, is still tight enough. Jorge Nieva and Togo Hisada separated by 25 points. Remember, it's 60 points for a win here. So depending on if Togo has a bad day, he could find himself vulnerable going into the last round, or he could be in a very good position. It all depends. Tixier might be a little far back. He needs a good round, and for his two rivals to suffer a little bit. Valenteus has missed so many races that he's practically out of it, and he is here today, but it's going to take a miracle for him to catch either of them, as he only has a maximum of 120 points that he can win here. From there on down, look at this. 1 point between 5th and 6th, Olsen and Zolgado. Another 9 points back to the other Olsen, John, there in 7th, and another 9 points down to Tyler. So those drivers could so easily swap around to decide who gets 5th in this championship. So watch this space. F1 will be hot. What about down in the F2 standings?
It continues to be Kevin Verbruggen just putting his foot down on this championship, 56 points ahead of Jan Steffen right now. And then you see another big gap to the 3rd place car, Rolly Wallbank. But that's where the first battle comes into play. Only 2 points separating Rolly and Jonathan Jordan there, arguing over 3rd place. And then we have another battle, 5 points separating Kurt Clapper and Don Peak for what will be the 4th place position on the racetrack in terms of that championship. And then another pretty big gap there. Arnold Cook kind of hanging out by himself. And then Tobias Harnvey, Andres Bruno, Timothy Porter back here. They are all separated by about 7 points for what is the 8th place in that championship. So only Mid-Ohio and Laguna Seca left for these drivers. It'll be curious to see if any of them swap around here.
Yeah, especially with Verbruggen having such a big gap up there at the front. He could cruise to the finish here as Spain leads in the Cup of Nations, and Japan has been chasing them. Nieva maybe a little bit more consistent, along with some friends helping him, whereas we don't have nearly as many Japanese drivers out here. The UK has a bunch of them, but they've only been able to manage 3rd so far, and they need a lot of points to try and catch up here at the very end. Singapore, mainly Gary Ho and Seb Tixier contributing back and forth, tied actually with the United States, which actually has a surprising number of drivers taking part, despite this being early in the morning over here on the western side of the world. But from there on down, it's a steep drop-off for the remaining nations in the Cup of Nations battle. Let's take a look, though, at the race details for today's event.
We mentioned it, round 11 of 12 here. So on the closing side of the championship, 24 laps is what the racers are going to have to do around Mid-Ohio. Open setup as always, and trust me, you are going to have to tweak and tune this thing for how short this track is. No spare car, so be careful. I think we got 33 other cars out there, so you have to be careful of everybody on the racetrack. And then your standard drive-through penalty at 17x, disqualification at 25x. Joe, it's always not tangling your wheels with another competitor, but here at Mid-Ohio, I think actually the walls, the grass, it's going to provide another challenge. These drivers are going to have to keep it pointed straight.
Yeah, like a lot of American circuits, it has a very punishing layout with the barriers, so drivers are going to have to keep their eyes peeled. But Andres Valenteus, not big of a surprise. He's taken the provisional pole. What is a surprise is the gaps to that. Tixier and Hisada are both within 0.03 of a second of Andres Valenteus. If they're going to be that close in the race itself, this is going to be a right-out battle.
And Mid-Ohio tends to kind of draw those close lap times just because it is a shorter circuit. But you're right. No matter who is up front here with times like that, I don't think that anybody is going to have the chance to breathe at all.
So we're on board with Valenteus for his second lap around here. Seb and Togo have already taken there, so they can't respond. Andreas could maybe put the marker a little bit farther away. Let's see what he's got. 21.6. Yes, that is much better for him. 0.3 now ahead compared to those 300s earlier of second and third place. Nikola Kaki also in the hunt here. He's about 0.4 off the pole, sitting in fourth with his second lap to go, coming around the carousel, staying patient. Oh, but he's very wide at the last turn, and he slows. He knows he's messed it up.
It is a very tricky section coming out of what is called the carousel, and then you got to jink it back to the left to make it across start finish as we watch a few more of those competitors. Arnold Cook going down the, what is called, I don't know if you call it the back straightaway, the front straightaway. Technically in real life, that's actually where you start the races.
Yeah, traditionally, most series in the modern day will start there, and even though they will wave the checkered flag on where the pit straight is. But Arnold Cook here going to come around to try and set his time at that pit straight, with the flag stand being very shortly after that little kink to the left. So as he comes down towards the jump here, Thunder Valley,
as you crest, and then it echoes back and forth through this valley and then comes up over a very blind crest here at turn 11 into that entry into the carousel.
Now, every track when you're driving these 49s is a bit of a challenge, but just a lot of memories coming back for me about Mid-Ohio. A lot of the overcrest. You got to be patient along some of these really, really long, slow corners. These drivers, it's really going to test them today.
That was up to 15th for Arnold, so great lap for him. And that is everybody who's able to set a time here. That means that Valenteus takes another pole position, and he's lost precious few races that he started this season. He just hasn't attended all of them. He'll be next to Seb Tixier starting in second, with Togo Hisada starting in P3 out here. It is going to be Nicola Kochi in the fourth position, Richard Watson starting P5, and John Olsen in 6. Laust Olsen, no relation, will start from 7th. Jorge Nieva down in 8th today. He's got a rough one to try and catch up to Togo. David Rossi will be P9, and then you've got Ben Zocco in 10th.
Then we have Jeff Saunders here in 11th. Robert Plumley is going to be lined up in 12th place. Matthew Maudsley in 13th. Rolly Wallbank is going to be lined up next to him there on row 7. Arnold Cook in 15th. Jem Matson in 16th. Jan Steffen in 17th. Bjorn Ackerman in 18th. And then on row number 10 is Alex Otero and Michael Grissinger.
Driver we don't see as much these days, but glad to have an old face back. Sandeep Banerjee in 21st, Anthony Woodward next to him. Then on the next row, it's Andre Bruno, flanked by Tobias Harnvey. Jonathan Latorre will be starting in 25th, followed by Roberto Pangrazi in 26th, and then Jonathan Jordan 27th. Xavier Sanchez did not set a time, starting all the way back in 28th. Jason Clapper starting 29th. Kurt Clapper will be in 30th. And then Donald Peak 31st. Robert Reynolds, almost called him Burt Reynolds there in 32nd. And Babis Mavrakis will start 33rd. Not the biggest field we've seen, but as we mentioned, it's a short lap. This could wind up seeing drivers still tripping over one another late in the race as they catch here. And it is a cool morning at just past 9 a.m. virtual standard time here. So drivers will need to heat those tires up. They surely won't have too many problems by the end of the first lap with all the back and forth. Engines now start to rev as the lights come up and the green flag is out. And Audrius gets a good start over Seb Tixier. But second phase, Seb starts to come back at him. It's such a fast first corner, though. He's not able to make the pass. In fact, Togo Hisada gets to his inside and takes second away.
Yeah, Togo, what a nice move there into turn number 1 as the rest of the field streams through a little bit 2-3 wide further back. Nice and calm here in the top 4. I think Laust Olsen was too wide going into the keyhole for the first time, and now they are stretching their legs down the straightaway.
Everybody staying good through the keyhole. Didn't see any accidents there. That can often be a big problem as the cloud cover really comes over here at the start and continues to cool the track down into China Beach. Oh, we have a big accident with John Olsen, and it looks like Laust Olsen also going off. I don't know if they made contact, but they enter the eponymous China Beach, unfortunately.
Yeah, I can report to you, it was some big old contact from Laust into the other Olsen, so unfortunately they both end up in what is called China Beach, the giant gravel trap out there at the outside of 4.
And they need it out there. I mean, we've seen some gigantic accidents. In fact, one that has certainly hurt the career of some IndyCar drivers, in fact, is Michael Grissinger side by side. This is going to be a bit tense with Sandeep Banerjee watching from behind, and Grissinger and Otero trying to settle out that 18th position. Looks like Grissinger's going to get it as they circle their way around the carousel. In fact, looked like Banerjee put a little bit offline and allows Clapper to sneak through.
Yeah, and when you are offline here at Mid-Ohio, it is so tough to get back on the racing line. It seems like it's 2, 3, 4, 5 cars that go by you. And look at this. Togo Hisada making a move on Andreas Valenteus for the lead.
He doesn't want to give him a whiff of the championship. He knows he's got to give big points lead, but he wants a bigger one, a safety margin. And as he comes down into the right-hander at China Beach, he is going to be able to get through. Can he shut the door? Yes. In madness, he takes the lead away.
Nice move. Oh, and oh my goodness, that was so close from Valenteus into the back of Togo Hisada, but I don't think I saw any contact. Seb Tixier is right there, and then also I see Nicola Kaki just trying to insert himself into the mix.
It is still very much a four-car battle for the lead of this race. Coming up into the left-hander here of turn 11, getting once again close to the back of Valenteus. Seb is trying to keep himself within striking range if he can help it.
And I mentioned this is really a technical racetrack. A lot of these corners, they can be slow and tedious, but that can allow these drivers to really kind of put the car where they want it in some of these unconventional lines.
Up through turn 1 as they all try to get the launch here. Look at the back of the car wiggle for Seb Tixier, trying to get that power down. They have a lot of oomph underneath these machines, even though they're from the 60s. And as they swing through the keyhole, some of them trying to square it off, including Seb.
Man, it's such a tricky corner, that turn number 2, and then it is just the draft fest down the straightaway here. We're going to see if Valenteus is close enough to make a lunge on Hisada. I don't think it's going to happen here. Oh, but look at the move coming from Tixier all the way back. He's going to steal second.
I thought for sure he was going to blow that corner, but somehow he found the apex, and thankfully Audrius saw that one coming, gave him some space down into the corner. I thought this was supposed to be a place where it's hard to pass, but these guys are managing it.
Well, and Joe, I think if I look at that, I think that Valenteus decided not to make a move on Hisada, so he lifted, but I tell you what, Tixier was right there, and he just took advantage of the open door.
Plumley side by side through the S's with Clapper, and that's going to become disaster as unfortunately it'll be for Grissinger, who gets sent off into the grass.
Yeah, a lot of this racetrack is just not too wide material here as we watch Sandeep Banerjee in the 21st place, still chasing Tobias Harnvey here for 20th. This is actually quite a big train because right in front of him is another train of 3 attached to this 4 train.
Sandeep chasing on Harnvey here. This is for 20th position. A little bit of a look down the inside, but nothing doing into turn 1 as Tobias takes it down to an early apex. That might have been a mistake. He's a little slow off the corner. A run from Banerjee does not look like it's going to produce anything. Unfortunately, he's not nearly close enough. So we're going to jump back to the battle for the lead. Kaki saw all the passes in front of him and says, I want a piece of that, but he can't get side by side.
Yeah, you saw that 4th place car definitely have a little bit of a lockup, and now Valenteus just kind of showing his nose to Hisada there in turn number 6. And let me tell you from personal experience, cars, if they're feeling aggressive, they will throw it down the inside of some of these sections because you're not going to slide all the way off the racetrack. As long as you can get clear of that competitor, oftentimes you can kind of fend them off from there.
We take a look a little bit farther back. This is 25th position with Pangrazi chasing on John Olsen. Remember, John was involved in that accident lap 1 down at China Beach. He's back to 24th, so he's recovered at least a few places if he wound up at the very back of the field, but he's got a ways to go.
Going through what is called Thunder Valley here at Mid-Ohio. It's a pretty cool section of the racetrack, and then a very, very fast left-hander, but this is the lead. So this is now Tixier going around Togo Hisada. So the number 8 car looking for that clean air, and Valenteus is trying to sneak his way around as well. I'd be watching out for Audrius right here.
Into the season, everybody knows that you've got nothing left to lose. They're trying to make up positions wherever they can. Coming down into the braking zone, Togo with a nose to the inside, but Tixier is able to shut the door. They'll stay line astern. Seb, Togo, Audrius.
Oh, and I tell you what, great drive from Nicola Kaki back there in 4th, because with these top 3 kind of mixing it up, remember, Nicola had that big mistake that last lap. Well, he's kind of climbed back up the hill and he's joining the party once again.
My goodness, this has been quite the fight. I did not expect this today. And as once again they fly through Thunder Valley, these laps keep ticking off very quickly out here. A little slow off the left-hander of 11 for Audrius, or for actually Togo, I should say. Audrius gets close but can't snipe him down into the carousel as they switch back. And you've got your eye, it looks like, on Nieva. Has he started to catch them?
Absolutely. A 1.1 that last time around. That is the fastest car on the racetrack, so he is catching this lead group. He's already up 3 positions from where he started, so this is Valente who's trying to go around the outside of Togo Hosada, but I think the fastest car is definitely Nieva.
Oh, he blinks out of existence for a long, long time. He's starting to come back a little bit here, but it's not looking good. And Togo has got to watch out and somehow defend a car that's not there half the time.
And this is so difficult when you are Togo Hosada because you don't know who to defend. If you're Valenteus, everything in the world is okay. It all seems normal, so it's just kind of an odd situation that everybody has to be careful of.
Yeah, we don't know if Andreas is aware that his connection is bad. It might not be showing on his end, and you can see how distracting that has got to be, especially for Nikola Kaki there in the 4th position. You can just see this car every once in a while as he weaves back and forth a little bit, just maybe uncertain and hesitating at moments as a lapped car lets them by.
That was pretty close there with that lapped car, and I'm sure that if anybody knows any maybe internet dances out there, please do them for Valenteus because he wasn't having this issue early on in the race. Hopefully it'll clear up for him.
Meanwhile, coming back to Plumley here, this is the fight for 11th with Jason Clapper doing his traditional rise. That said, Jason has been outdone by Xavier Sanchez in front of him. Sanchez up 17 positions. He's usually fighting in the top 5 and for podium, so he's definitely done a good race as that was a look down the inside from Plumley. A little bit of a shake-up there for Clapper through the first corner, but I think he lifted and let him through.
I think so, and you were talking about just the positions gained from all of these different drivers. I'm looking at our lap count. We aren't even a third of the way through this race yet, so people like Xavier Sanchez that have gone up 17, he might have 3 seconds to go catch up to Matthew Maudsley, but then after that, he's got car after car after car. Still plenty of time to keep climbing the charts.
De La Torre is trying to catch up to Pangrazi once again for 24th. Don't think he's nearly close enough. Somebody's locked him up down into China Beach there as we saw a puff of smoke down at the apex, but no car off to the side of the track, so they must have kept it moving as the number 27 has dutifully camouflaged his car, it looks like.
And that's what I was just noticing. It's definitely some sort of camo or floral pattern. As Seb Tixia, you see it pop up on your screen, the fastest lap. And I've got my eye on that, Joe, because 1.4 seconds is what he stretched that out to. Usually we don't see anybody kind of take the lead and then run away with it.
Ooh, big defense down the main straight with Woodward going all the way to the pit wall. Not sure if he just got loose and had to save it or if he was trying to hold off Arnold Cook, who now has a much better run as we're going to check in with Anthony. And as they come down into the corner, he's going to leave the door open. He knew that he was coming. So looks like Arnold's going to be able to take that one away, but a fight back maybe with a slipstream from Woodward.
And I love seeing the H-pattern shifter being used, especially here in these vintage communities. There are 3 pedals. He's going to try to look to the outside. Arnold just kind of puts his car right in the middle of the racetrack. But when you use that H-pattern, my point being, most of the time you actually have to use all 3 pedals. It's pretty cool to see.
And I have to say, I've never had a button box, so I'm always jealous of people who have them. That is a snazzy looking one. Look at that thing.
Absolutely. You know what's kind of throwing me for a loop, though, Joe, is that he's doing everything with his left hand. It's backwards to me.
Interesting. I must be a left-handed driver, or is he actually from the UK, maybe?
That's what I would assume.
Yep, UK and I. He's from, so he is over from the weird part of the world when it comes to driving on the wrong side of the road. But he is certainly fighting quite well up against Cook and Wallbank, although he had to give up at least one spot. Rowley might find himself under some severe pressure here, considering Arnold made the pass last lap, is already back on the horse, trying to see if he can get another.
Yeah, out of turn number 1, they're all kind of equal distant away from each other, and here comes Arnold Cook with a huge lunge into turn number 2. He does get it stopped in time, so I think maybe Rowley just early on the brakes, as this is another battle. This is between Togo and Andreas for second place.
Yeah, they've dropped off of Seb Tixier, starting to pull away from them, and this is only going to help Tixier up at the front as they can remain side by side, continuing the battle through many corners. 2 wheels off into the grass from Valenteus. Doesn't spin the car, but has he now lost the fight? He could try and stick his nose in, but that'd be risky, and he knows it.
And you see Nicola just trying to search for a way around, and Togo Hesada maybe struggling for a little bit of grip. And look at who has officially joined his friends. That is Jorge Nieva, now that 4th car, the caboose on the train.
So, interesting thing here in the sim is iRacing does provide you the ping of each driver. That's sort of their connection quality. And Valenteus was up to 1,400. That's very bad for those that don't know. And it's back down to about 160, 170 now. Still not great, but it looks like he's kicked it enough and it's back to working.
I tell you what, if I'm the driver of the number 2 cars, we watch Jason Clapper try to make a move here into turn number 1. Probably going to do it there in turn 2, but here goes Valenteus on Togo Hesada once again here into turn number 4. But I was going to say, if I was Nicola Kaki back here, I'd actually start to be a little bit frustrated with Valenteus. There's been so much movement in the brake zone, just kind of flip-flopping back and forth, trying to make a move around Togo Hesada. He also has to be aware there's other cars on the track.
And we saw that puff of smoke from Nieva at the back of it. That started with Valenteus maybe going a bit hot into madness, and Kaki had to get on the binders hard, and that just stacked everybody up. If we could get a replay from onboard Nicola, that'll certainly be eye-opening there, but still the battle for second place rages as, man, Seb now up to 4 seconds ahead of these guys. He has absolutely gapped them in a huge way.
I wonder, is there damage somewhere on Togo Hesada's car that we missed somewhere? Because usually we don't see a pace difference that is kind of this big. Seb Tixier at 121.8, Togo Hesada at 22.9. Now, granted, they were fighting that lap, but that's huge.
And we're checking back with Woodward, but we're back to side-by-side up that battle for P2 once again. And Hesada still manages to fend off Audrius, who is, now that he's got the connection, I think he feels a little bit more willing to try and test the limits of what is possible out here. Togo's going to go to the defensive line down into the right-hander. That's going to open the door a little bit on Audrius as Nicola thinks about trying to attack as well. Can't quite get himself side by side with him. Still, he remains dangerously close.
It is all packed in there. Richard Watson is also coming to join the party. I really am firmly believing that something is up with Hesada's car. We usually see Togo fighting for these wins, not backing up the field into each other.
Ooh, a little bit off the apex for Kaki as Valenteus is going to find himself, and a big slide as well. This car is suddenly now struggling after Nicola found some pace to try and put the pressure on. He makes multiple mistakes and drops off the back of Audrius. That could open him up to some better moves if he doesn't have the pressure from behind.
They both were really just trying to late apex turn number 1. There's so many opportunities to go in there with your hair on fire, but they said, you know what, I want to focus on the exit. So here we go into turn number 2. The corner exit so important as the track falls away from you. Everybody stands on the gas, but Togo Hesada definitely in the sights of Valenteus.
And this is pushing them backwards to Richard Watson even as they once again start to go side by side, but that was early braking from Audrius. I think he was just a little too shallow to try and making that pass as they switch back and forth once again. Togo knows once he is ahead into this series of back and forths, he can just take his time.
Well, and I've been watching Togo, so I kind of think of myself as a nerd here at Mid-Ohio, and a lot of these corner entries are being pinched down, and he's not necessarily kind of driving the track per se. Valenteus is going to have an opportunity here into a very fast corner, but once again, Togo Hesada moves to the inside of the racetrack. It kills his exit on the exit there, and once again, defending to the inside, just stacking everybody up.
Just a quick mention, we've had our first DNF, amazingly, despite some big accidents early on. Jonathan De La Torre looks to be out of this race, the only driver to have dropped out now. We're not sure what caused it, but we still have 31 out on the circuit. And once again, having to defend to the inside. This is getting feisty up there. And Andreas is trying everything he can do. He's going to break late. That once again opens an opportunity for Nicola. Can't manage to make the pass. Look at him stacked up now as they hit the backstretch.
So Valenteos is going to have to make a decision here. Does he go down to the inside? Togo Hisata right in the middle of the racetrack. What does Nicola do as they're side by side right in front of him? You can go around the outside of 4 here. Valenteos is there. Does Togo leave enough room? Yes, Valenteos should be sneaking through. Togo Hisata still hanging tough now into turn number 6. Equal room given. Great to see.
Holding on by his fingernails. He doesn't want to give it up, but no, there is not enough grip for Togo Hisata. Side by side in contact between Kaki and Nieva. Both of them off. Jorge could find his championship hopes vastly hurt by this move, and Kaki has to wait patiently to return to the circuit. He falls all the way to 11th.
That was a tough one there. If we can get a GSRC replay, I think we're going to see that both Nieva and Kaki, well, they weren't going to leave room for each other, and it was 2 cars arguing over 1 space.
Oh, that is very harmful to Jorge Nieva's hopes of trying to keep up with Togo Hisata if Togo can stay in 3rd here. Now that makes you wonder, does the Japanese driver try to play the numbers game and just bring this home in 3rd, or does he try and fight to get more positions?
I think he has to, Joe. I mean, just flat out, Togo doesn't have the pace today, and I don't see any damage on the car, and this is purely speculative. This is a very short racetrack. I wonder if he didn't get the gearing right today.
All right, talk us through this here. We've got the replay up, it looks like, of the incident, Joey.
Yep, so Nieva here is going to go down to the inside of Nicola Kaki, right in front of him. He's going to slide out wide. Kaki's going to turn in. Just 2 cars, basically, both didn't hit the racing line, and they argued over the same space, and they made contact, and off they went.
Yeah, the entry on that one is so wide. I always feel like it's tempting to want to try passes into there, but I've so rarely seen them actually work, and I think that really shows you why. Back to Woodward, who gives us apparently 2 different cameras to reference today, which is kind of interesting. Has been pressurizing John Olsen as we take a look at his foot cam.
Remember, I was talking about that H-pattern shifter and actually having to use all 3 pedals? Well, we're actually getting the shot of it right here, so you're going to see probably clutch on the upshift, right? He doesn't even take his foot off of the gas there, but then on the brakes, he's using all 3 pedals there, so using the accelerator to rev match and then the clutch to get down the gear. Really cool to see.
Which is interesting, because from my experience, you don't actually need the clutch to downshift as long as you time it right. So maybe that's just a safety valve for him to make sure that he doesn't miss the downshift.
I think so, and then the other thing to consider too is that in the sim world versus the real world, it might kind of function a little bit differently, and he might have maximized it here for the virtual world. That's
true. Back to Maudsley in the meantime. Chasing on Jeff Saunders. Can't quite get that nice spot this time. Each of them doing a pretty good job, up 2 and 3 positions each. But again, Sanchez in front of him just sliced through this field. He is up to 8th spot after starting 28th for him. Meanwhile, as we watch Maudsley continue to try and hound Saunders up through that perilous right-hander into Thunder Valley, doesn't get the launch that he needs.
In Thunder Valley, when you were in the car, looks like problems down here in turn number 4. Sandy Banerjee, maybe Jan Steffen is well involved here. This is a very common point to have kind of skirmishes on the racetrack. It's the biggest break zone, so lots of times some sends get thrown.
And I think that's exactly what happened, because I saw an apology there from Banerjee down into the braking on that one. Looks like we've got a replay of the incident, so that's coming out of the keyhole, long back straight, and this kink is a little scary in these cars, I can tell you. It is easily flat out, but going too wide through there has got to be a bit of an adventure. As he comes into the corner, realizes his mistake, tries to slow it up, but no, he's on a trajectory.
Yeah, you know what? But hey, he did the full kind of side suplex right there, just elbowed him straight to the outside of the track. But this is Xavier Sanchez, so he is currently chasing David Rossi right behind him for the 7th place position. And we still have about a third of the race left. So if Sanchez gets around this red number 15, I see about a second and a half up the road is Jorge Nieva, who I think has a damaged car. So Sanchez still has some fight left in him.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if Nieva is experiencing at least a little damage considering how they tangled wheels there. But David Rossi now has a very fast Spaniard trying to see if he can overtake him as they fly out of the final turn. They're past the flag stand I was telling you about, where they're going to end this race as well. And through turn one, they cannot cut across that curb to the inside. They have to stay to the outside of it, and they'll climb up the hill all the way to the keyhole where there used to be that little chicane to the inside. In fact, I'd look to the inside. A big dive there from Sanchez. Can he finish the pass? Yes, he can.
Nicely done there from Xavier. Pretty just straightforward. Outbraked him there into turn number 2. And Joe, you were just mentioning turn 1 in that apex curve. You're not allowed to climb that big giant yellow kind of speed bump, if you will, but try telling that to those NASCAR boys.
Yep, they they have deemed if it's paved, you can take it, so anywhere is fair. Meanwhile, Nikola Kaki climbing back forward, gains at least one spot. That was Jeff Saunders that he just demoted, and he's got Matthew Maudsley directly in front of him. We were watching those two battle earlier, so he's kind of interrupted the fight.
And this is Jorge Nieva. Remember, it was Nikola and Jorge that made that contact a handful of laps ago, so they're both pointed the right directions. Definitely Nikola got the worst off of it, and I think that Jorge is trying to catch up to Richard Watson, who is being hounded by Ben Zocco. Actually, a fantastic drive from Ben. We haven't mentioned him at all yet.
Yeah, I mean, up 5 spots from where he started. He's had a little help with a few drivers coming into one another, but even still, he's kept it on the track and clearly has speed as he's approached the Texan. This is going to be a fun fight because Ben, he's a fair fighter, but he's a fierce fighter, and he is not going to sit around and take this one lightly.
I think my favorite part about Ben is that he always celebrates the wins or kind of the fights afterwards as we go down into turn number 4. I'm sure he'll have a huge rolling burnout at the end of this one, and Watson actually gets choked up just a little bit, so Zocco going to close that gap a little bit here, but through 5 and 6, just not really an opportunity to make a pass. You just got to fill those mirrors, pretty much just put the anxiety on Watson right there in front of him.
Don't need to go to it, but I can report that Kaki did get by Maudsley and is now back up to 9th, so another position for him. Not as familiar with Watson, although he is something of a regular. We see him every once in a while in this series. This is clearly a good run for him today, having started in the top 5 and gained at least 1.
And just watching kind of the course of this race so far, I've noticed that a lot of these drivers, they're confident to chuck it into the corners, but not necessarily finish throughout the corner. And here at Mid-Ohio, you have to use every single inch of racetrack. Kind of think of it like Laguna Seca. If you don't use all of the curbs everywhere, well, you're just leaving time.
And thankfully, they are relatively flat curbs in most places, as Jason Clapper is going to go wheel to wheel with John Olsen, but Olsen prevails out of the pair of them. Look out for Rolly Wallbank to try and pull a gap because of that little tussle behind him. He goes very wide, though, into the first corner. He's going to be slow. Can he get the launch to cause him a good defense down into the keyhole?
And John Olsen's right there. If he wants to make a move, which he is, he's going to lunge down into turn number 2. Can he get the car stopped? Excellent move. And then here comes Jason Clapper as well, trying to take advantage of the open door. So it'll be the drag race now between the number 11 of Jason and Rolly Wallbank on driver's left.
Coming down into China Beach, Clapper to the inside. He's got that desired apex, but he's got to hold station as they swing through, and he does, just covering off the fight back from Rolly Wallbank. I've seen so many fights there carry on into the left-hander.
Just kind of feeds one corner after another, and if you are off of the racing line, well, everybody behind sees it, right? And they are just nice and tidy closing that gap, so it is just tough to really pull away from people at Ohio as we see Roberto Pengrazi having some issues down in turn 4, turn 5, always a problem area.
Yeah, he outbraked himself, so we saw him climbing back onto the circuit there. Didn't hit anything, thankfully, so just kind of went a little too deep and had to take a visit to the beach, unfortunately. Jonathan Jourdain also in a nice little fight with Andre Bruno. This is for 28th spot, and Seb Tixier actually just lapped them.
And as we watch kind of the cars on the screen here, I've noticed that Togo Hisada has picked up his pace again, Joe. This track, it's not very well known in iRacing. I wonder if Togo is just kind of getting used to things out here.
Yeah, it's not as popular. I mean, IndyCar fans definitely know about this place, so they are well familiar, but we don't know how many of these drivers watch that series. Meanwhile, Tixier coming around down to 4 laps to go. I have to say, I'm massively impressed because, like I said, I think there's only been one race that Valenteus has not won that he's attended so far this year, and I believe he had contact. Yeah, that was at Summit Point when he tangled with one of our Finnish drivers.
Well, and I think when we look at the broad landscape of these Lotus 49 races is that they're always tight up at the front. When we have lead changes, they usually stay that way. We don't get somebody drive to the front and then drive away from the pack. That's something we're seeing from Seb today.
Yeah, so clearly incredibly fast. Unfortunately, looks like Anthony Woodward, who we were watching earlier, had a little bit of coming together with Jim Matson, and that may have slowed both of them down because it was a pretty big hit. Togo Hisada here in 3rd place, unable to keep up with them. Not sure what has cost him pace or if he just decided to back out of it a little bit to just bring this one home, especially considering his rival is no longer near him. Nieva's still back in 6th, unable to make up any spots since he lost them. So not a whole lot of points, but a good enough chunk of points that this is looking very good for Togo heading off to Laguna Seca.
I mean, he has just developed so much as a driver. He's always one of the fastest on the racetrack, but I just think between last season and this season, we've really seen him kind of mature and think about the big picture of the championship, as well as sometimes it's okay to finish top 3. It's okay to finish top 5 as long as you don't throw it away.
Hisada champion in 2022 season 1 and then 2023 season 3. So he's looking to try and start off 2024 with another championship if he can help it, his 3rd to his name. But it won't be sealed today, that is for sure, as he's still got too many rivals that are in the hunt. Bjorn Ackerman, a little bit farther down, that's Michael Grissinger fighting for 24th.
Coming up through this very, very technical section over the crest. You can't see the exit of this turn. I didn't mention that at all. Lots of blind corner exits here at Mid-Ohio, so you just kind of have to trust your turn in, trust your commitment that once you reach the apex, you're at the right point on the racetrack, and hopefully you don't go flying off the other side.
And having walked around here in person as a spectator, you don't really realize how big these hills are until you get there. John Olsen, side by side, fighting with Arnold Cook, but it looks like Cook is going to be able to pull out of it in time, so he'll stay behind in 13th position. Jason Clapper wants 2 more on his plate. He's got 2 laps to go. Can he get 1 per lap?
We're about to find out here. He's actually pushing John Olsen. I think that's actually Arnold Cook just off of the racing line a little bit. My mistake there is Arnold is that 2nd car right in the middle of this sandwich of 3 here. And Jason Clapper going to get an excellent run here through Thunder Valley. Just this isn't a passing opportunity, and you see Jason kind of have to back out of it.
Wow, they slid so much there through the right-hander. And as they'll swing back through the carousel, these guys swing through the keyhole, and Ben Zocco still putting the pressure on to Watson, and I believe Jorge Nieva starting to approach from behind too. He could get a couple spots right at the very end, but he's going to have to be aggressive, try and make up the positions. As we watch from Ben, you have to remember Ben's racing from Australia, while Richard Watson from Texas, so they might have what looks like pretty good ping between them, but netcode can still be an issue.
And you were mentioning Nieva, how he's got to be aggressive. Well, I think I saw him with about a 200-yard lockup going into turn number 4, just trying to carry everything that he can, and he's actually right on the back of Ben Zocco now. So between Watson and Zocco fighting, Jorge Nieva has capitalized and closed it into the group.
White flag is out. Tixier has 1 to go with a healthy gap of about 7 seconds. This is really our closest fight now, up at the top of the field. Watson trying to cling to this 4th position with Zoko, who has been staying in his mirrors for a number of laps, and now a newcomer to the fight in Jorge Nieva.
So here it is, the break zone. Well, we're going to jump up to Seb Tixier here, our leader, because he's only got about half a lap left. I've got my eye on the other battle. So up through turn 5 here for Seb Tixier. He does have a lot of lap cars right in front of him, but thankfully 6.5 seconds. He can kind of cruise home from here.
Up and over the crest through the S's, we could see cars at time looking like they get awful light there. Side by side for Nieva. He's going to fight on Zoko. He'll have the inside coming through Madness, and that will seal the deal as Ben spins his rear wheels.
Nicely done there from Nieva, so he'll secure what is a top 5 as Seb Tixier. All he's got to do is make it around the carousel in this little left, and he's got the checkered flag.
Indeed he does. A win for Seb Tixier, keeping his hopes narrowly alive for a championship as he claims victory in Ohio. Valenteus impressively behind by 7 seconds, but still second place. And Togo Hisada on the podium, on the verge of a 3rd championship.
Nicely done. Jorge Nieva does cross the line behind Richard Watson, so Watson 4th, Nieva with the top 5, and there's quite a few good battles going on. I think Arnold Cook is falling into the clutches of Jason Clapper right here, but Jason's going to have to really send it through the carousel if he's going to want an opportunity. Arnold just covers it off right in the middle of the track. Nicely defended.
Yep, nothing doing there. So Arnold Cook 13th, Clapper 14th, and interestingly, 15 positions gained by Jason Clapper to get that spot. Kurt Clapper not too shabby either, up 14 spots. Remember, he was following him, and he's just behind, or just ahead actually, of Laust Olsen, who unfortunately is not going to have a good day with much of the car missing.
See Ben Zoko providing the smoke screen effect on the front straightaway. Alex Otero was chasing Jem Matson there for 20th position, and yeah, I love the smell of victory donuts. I love seeing it, Joe. That's my favorite way to end any race.
Zoko gonna burn it down as long as he can until that engine expires. That is going to end the race, but not our coverage. We'll have more, including the unofficial results as well as driver interviews after this. Welcome back to Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Our penultimate round here in the Grand Prix Legends Series sees Seb Tixier take the win over Adrius Valenteus. And by an impressive 7 seconds, Hisada, another 5 seconds back, finishes third. Hopefully we'll get to ask him, find out what caused him to be a little slow there late in the race. Richard Watson, though, finished fourth, holding back Jorge Nieva, who limited the damage by being able to climb back to fifth position. But he could have been so much closer with a potential podium, as Ben Zocco gets himself sixth place. Xavier Sanchez from 28th to 7th, gaining 21 spots here, as Nicola Kaki finishes 8th, getting tangled up midway through. David Rossi was 9th, and Matthew Maudsley rounds out your top 10.
Jeff Saunders will finish in 11th. John Olson in 12th. Arnold Cook had his hands full all day, finishes in 13th. And then Jason Clapper, always one of the biggest movers, up 15 today to claim the 14th spot. Rolly Wallbank in 15th. Kurt Clapper also up 14th, so both Clappers a good day today. Laust Olsen unfortunately had some troubles there on the first lap, falls to 17th today. Tobias Harnvey 18th, Roberto Pengrazzi in 19th, and Jem Matson in 20th.
21st went to Alex Otero. Sandeep Banerjee was making some moves early and then fell back and finished 22nd, as Jan Stefan was 23rd. Bjorn Ackerman behind them, P24, was followed by Anthony Woodward in 25th. Last on the lead lap, Donald Peak a lap down, 26th. Then had Jonathan Jourdain, 27th. Andre Bruno, P28 today. And Michael Grissinger, unfortunately, 3 laps down in 29th. Looks like he maybe did not finish this race, actually. Behind him, multiple drivers with DNFs. Plumley, Reynolds, Della Torre, and Mavrakis was a did not start, unfortunately. Looks like Seb Tixier is ready to talk to us after another victory here this season. Closing in a little bit, but not a lot in the points championship. Seb, congratulations on the win. But the thing that impressed us, Valenteus has been very quick when he's around. For you to beat him by 7 seconds, that is a big W for you.
Yeah, the 7 seconds is because he was stuck behind Togo, I think. But my last lap was, I think, half of 500 from his fastest lap. So I think I was in the pace with him. And I owed him a cent, so I did it.
We wondered about that. You came from a long way back for that one. So that was an intentional attempt at a pass? We thought it was maybe a mistake.
Half. Let's say that with the slipstream, I took the opportunity. I saw that, maybe I'm a bit late, so quick thinking, just send it and that's it.
You were given the space, you're going to take it, and well, it proved pretty decisive because, like we said, after that, you pulled away when they were fighting one another. You held the gap, and I said that you're trying to see if you can close in. I don't know what the points are yet because you came in a bit far back. What realistically are you looking at championship wise?
I hope Togo will win. No,
well,
I don't have any. I have DNF because I was sick, I couldn't drive, and a very bad result in Nürburgring when I stunted too much. So yeah, I don't think I can. I can't even be close. Maybe for podium on the championships, but for victories, I think mathematically it's just impossible.
Yeah, I think it may have after this one since Togo finished in third there. I don't think you gained enough to keep within it. Well, regardless, it is impressive what you've been doing this season, and excellent race out there to be able to lead some of the best today.
Thank you.
That was Seb Tixier, your winner. Third place was Togo Hisada, who, as I said, is leading the points still. He's with Joey.
So, Togo Hisada, congratulations on the third place finish here. How was today for you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I've got you loud and clear.
Okay. I'm very frustrating about this race. somehow I just and tried the bathhouse 12 hours just before this race, about 1 hour ago, 1 hour before, and I drove the Ferrari GT3 for a couple of stints, and that makes me the all about this Lotus 49 feelings just away. I forget how to drive this car, and somehow the Andrew is taking the hairpin for first or 2 laps, and I somehow able to pass him, and he's very big in my mirrors, and I even more I lost my code. I'm very upset, and I completely lost my feelings of the Lotus 49 cars. That's why I'm so slow of the whole race.
Well, and that is understandable. I mean, talk about two totally different cars, and I think you did a good job adapting about halfway through this race and picking up the pace. And let me ask you, are you going to get back in the car, Bathurst? I know it's a 12-hour race. Do you have any more driving left over there?
Yes, I did maybe two stints left today, so I just keep I wake up and there's a very late night, but I drove.
Well, that is awesome, and it sounds like you're just packing your day full of sim racing, which is definitely a fun way to spend it. And Togo, before I let you go, you've been awesome in the championship so far. You've got one round left at Laguna Seca. Is there anything you're looking forward to for the final round?
Yes, but Laguna Seca, I don't like. I don't like that track, so it's really big pressure for me. But keeping my pace and just concentrate it.
Well, that was Togo Hisada coming home third, and Togo, good luck in Bathurst later.
All right. I do believe in the meantime we have Anthony Woodward, who finished 25th today and had quite the start to the race, but also some fun in the middle. We'll start at the beginning there, Anthony, because we didn't see it, but you had a narrow escape, it looks like, on an accident on that run down at the backstretch.
Yeah, fun is right. That was incredible fun. I had a lot of fun doing that. Just someone sent it, and I gave him room, and he just couldn't contain it, so he just touched in the middle, right at the apex on the hairpin, and ended up spinning out. But I did a self-spin later on, so pretty screwed myself pretty bad after, but I really had a lot of fun there. So thanks, guys. Thanks for putting it on.
Well, thank you for not only coming and joining us for the race and here afterwards, but sending us some interesting camera angles. We saw you, us being Americans, we were a bit surprised at first seeing you being left-handed shifting, and then we looked at your club. We saw, UK and I. Okay, now we understand why you've got the shifter on the wrong side.
That's right. I'm a V8 supercar driver as well. I'm not very good in them either, but so that makes sense for that. And I'm used to racing with Cam Porter. So he was going to be my yardstick today, and he didn't turn up. So I didn't know where I was going to be in the field, but that was a lot of fun.
Well, we just saw the accident there on replay, so we kind of saw how narrow that was. Even still, a finish at 25th. You were on the lead lap at least. What's your goal at Laguna Seca if we're going to see you there for the finale?
I was hoping top 10 today, and I think I could have maybe done it. I think I was up to 13th, and I felt pretty comfortable behind the two in front. So, yeah, top 10s would be nice. There's obviously a lot of talent in this league when you look at the iRating. So, the top 10 would be really nice.
Yeah, you're up against some steep talent here, no doubt. Still, I'd say we enjoyed having you out there. Hopefully, you'll have a less eventful first lap, but still some fun if we see you back.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
That was Anthony Woodward, who finished 25th today with a few problems along the way, but still tried his hardest out there and definitely had a good run. In the meantime, we are going to close out with a big thank you to the Lotus 49 community in general for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And thanks to the team today, Daniel, Joey, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment on GSRC. The last round out in California at Laguna Seca will be Saturday, March 2nd at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts that we have listed here, because later today, the IMSA Vintage Series is also going to be on the Eastern Hemisphere, but up north, Fuji at noon Eastern. Until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.